Agentic workflows have now completely changed the way that we're now able to build AI automations and AI agents. Because just a few weeks ago, we were only able to build automations by drag and dropping nodes or modules in platforms like Any10 or Make.com, which would have taken us hours or even days. Whilst now we're able to build all these systems at 10 times the speed without writing a single line of code. And the problem is that most people getting into agentic workflows, they end up watching tutorial after tutorial and end up confusing themselves. And it's only because they don't really understand the baseline fundamentals of how it all works, which is why in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how agentic workflows actually work in the simplest way possible, then building one live using a platform called Antigravity. And then finally, I'm going to show you how you can apply these concepts to building any kind of automation and system that you want. And in case it's your first time here, my name is Michele, and I've scaled my own AI agency to 6 figures, working with over 50 businesses to implement AI solutions and teaching over 20,000 people in the process, all starting with zero technical knowledge. With that being said, let's dive in. All right, so right here I have the old way and I have the new way of how automations actually work. Now, as you may know, an automation is a series of steps that leads to an outcome, whether that be making a full presentation or sending emails or creating any Google document. There's an input and there's an output, and there's a series of steps that happen in between. Now, the way that we were used to building these is using platforms like Any10, which are automation tools. And these are building it yourself, as in you go inside Any10 and you start putting node, so square, so action, after action, after action, after action, and after action. So you create the input, you create the output, and you create each step manually in between the input and the output to then build the whole automation. And what this means is that you have to drag each box, you have to make sure they're all connected, and you have to make sure that every single thing inside that step of the automation is configured correctly. So let's say we have an automation that starts every 5 minutes. This is the first step of the automation. Once this happens, then we want to get all the emails from our Gmail, right? Gmail is the software that we use to get emails. And inside here, we have to set up Gmail. So we have to connect our Gmail. We have to go inside manually. We have to make sure that all the settings are configured correctly. Then we have if. So if the word invoice is in the subject line of the email, then we send it through. So in this case, we would have to set up the node, so the step of the if, which is a condition, right? So we're saying, okay, every 5 minutes we get the emails. And if the subject line contains invoice, then we add the row to the Google Sheet, so to a database that we have. And finally, we send a message to Slack, which is a platform where we send messages, sort of like WhatsApp or Telegram. And so with this said, we are manually making all these steps. We're manually configuring, we call it the API, right? The way that we're connecting one software to one software together, we're doing it ourselves. And so the problem with this is that, so when you're looking to build these kind of workflows that are 5 steps, it's completely fine. It's easier to do. But when you start building more complex systems that require, I guess, 20 steps, maybe 1 step here, 1 step there, and make it sort of like a flow chart, then it is very time consuming. But it's not because it takes time to build the actual automation in Any10. It's because a lot of the times you have to make sure that you research, let's say Gmail. Let's say you didn't know how Gmail was connected. You have to research the documentation or the sort of list of criteria that says, hey, here's how Gmail works in the automation. Here's how to set it up. And so you spend half an hour, 1 hour, 2 days. I spend weeks making sure the automations are properly set up, making sure that all the softwares actually talk to each other in the correct way, which takes time. And so with this said, this is the old way, or you can say the build it yourself way, right? Where you actually go in there and build it yourself. Now, the difference is that we now have tools like Antigravity, which is the one that we're going to be talking about today, where you tell it what you want, and it basically starts doing everything that you would have done with a workflow. So let's say you type in the workflow, or you give the agent, or you can call it agent. When I get a client email, log it into Sheets and ping me on Slack. That is the input, the prompt of what we tell the actual agent to do, right? And so when we give it this prompt right here, the agent reads the prompt, and then it starts building the actual automation. It starts building Gmail, it starts building the filter, it starts building the Google Sheets and Slack, which are all the steps that previously we would have to make manually. And so in this case, the flow is just giving it an input, the agent reading it, it building it, and then asking you questions along the way if it does not understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so in this case, you're describing what you want in plain English. The AI agent figures out the platforms and build the workflows for you. Now, this is great, and it saves us a lot of time just because a lot of the times the workflows here, like I mentioned, they're not as easy as Gmail or Google Sheets or Slack, right? It does take time to read through exactly how to set them up. And so in this case, we're not doing it, the AI agent is doing it because it is smart enough to go inside what we call, again, like the documentation of how everything works for that software and setting things up automatically. And all you have to do is make sure that you give it the right instructions, which then goes to the emphasis of making sure that your prompts are set up correctly. Because if you can't communicate what you want, then you can't expect the AI agent to give you what you want. You have to make sure that you're specific and detailed about what it is that you're looking to build to then get the desired output. So that's essentially the difference between the old way and the new way. Up here, we have the way of you building the automation yourself, making sure all the steps are set up manually yourself. Whilst here, you're just basically offloading everything to the AI agent, which is then going to configure all the steps automatically and so on. Now, to build an agentic workflow today, we're going to be using a software called Google's Antigravity. Now, this right here is an IDE. As a complete beginner, as a 5-year-old getting into the space, you won't even know what IDE is. I didn't know when I started, but essentially IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It's a software application that provides a very comprehensive, just all-in-one workspace where you can basically code, you can test, you can build things all together in one place. And it's good for us because we don't want to go to all these different places to figure everything out. We want everything in one place. So all you have to do is go to antigravity.google. You then want to download for macOS, or you can press download here, and you can download in case you have Windows or Linux right here. So I'm going to press download for Apple Silicon. You will then get the file right here. Just press this, just drag this across here. And once you have it downloaded, you can open it up and the dashboard will look like this. Now, I've made a full video showing you exactly how you can use Antigravity to build full stack applications or websites and showing you the fundamentals of how the platform works. You can check it out up here. But in today's video, we're taking a different angle and looking at the agentic workflow of the platform itself. So the first thing you want to do is press open folder, because when you're working with Antigravity or even Claude Code, when you are building something, you want to build it in a folder, in some sort of place, so that when you close it and then you want to open it back up, you have everything stored in that folder, right? So you want to press open folder. I can just go to my desktop and I can just press new folder here and name it Antigravity, create. And in this folder, we're going to store all the Python codes and all the fancy stuff that the agent is going to build for us. We can press open. You can press yes, I trust the authors. And now you have the folder opened. And this is where everything starts. So on the left-hand side, we have the resources and the documents that we get to feed into Antigravity, but also the code that it writes over time, which is basically the automation. In the middle, I get to see exactly how Antigravity is thinking through things, the implementation plan, the tasks, basically the plan that it gives itself to be able to build the thing that you wanted to build. And then on the right-hand side, we have the chatbot. The chatbot is basically where we can text it and start the conversation. Now, believe it or not, to build agentic workflows inside of Antigravity, we don't just randomly do it, right? We have a framework, and the framework is called the SBTD Framework. S stands for structure, B stands for build, T stands for testing, and D is deployment. Now, to not overcomplicate things, I'm not going to actually deploy the workflow, but if you want a full video on how that works, you can let me know in the comments down below. So the first pillar is the structure. So before we actually start building anything with Antigravity, right, before we jump into prompting it to say, hey, can you build me this agent or that agent, we want to set up the structure for the actual project. And so what we do here is we press new file. We can name this claude.md. MD stands for markdown. It's just a way that we write things with code, giving it titles and so on. And I'm going to paste this prompt right here. Okay, so this right here is what we call a 3-layer architecture that we give Antigravity whenever it has to build some sort of system. Now, the reason we do this is because when it builds things, it's going to store code. It's going to make folders and it's going to store different information everywhere. Now, because I don't want Antigravity to store it randomly, I'm going to give it a structure saying, hey, layer 1 is going to be directive, which is what to do. You're going to make a folder called directives, and these are defining the objectives, the inputs, the tool scripts to use, outputs, and edge cases for the specific agentic workflow that I want to build. Layer 2 is orchestration, which is how to make decisions. So you're basically giving it instructions as to how it should think about doing things. And finally, we have executions, which is doing the task. So all the different Python scripts, Python is the programming language, don't get overwhelmed by it, but basically everything that Antigravity builds is going to be in Python. We don't really care because we're not building it in Python. But essentially, all those files are going to be stored in the execution folders. And we're also telling Antigravity that to store all the API tokens, all the passwords and credentials, security stuff, it needs to store it in a file called .env. And then we give it some other rules that it needs to follow as well. Now, I'm going to leave the full prompt in a second link down below in my free school community. You can go to the Classroom section and the templates vault, and you'll find it there. Make sure when you paste this, you press save. So Command S, or you can go up here and press file save. And now I can start speaking to Antigravity. And here I can say, hey, I left a claude.md file in the folder in our project. Can you please initialize the project and start everything? Making sure we have the whole foundation and architecture done before we actually start building anything. So there's a prompt. I'm going to leave this as planning. So we have two different types. We have planning and we have fast. Planning is when you want the actual agent to plan things step by step as it's building something. I always usually like to have a planning, but I also do like using fast for tasks that are quicker, that don't require a lot of decision making or a lot of brain power. or in this case, system power. I use fast, but in this case, we're going to use planning. And then we have different models. So these right here are the different types of brains. Some brains require more energy. Some brains require less energy. Some brains are better for more complex thinking, and some brains are better for more creative thinking, right? In this case, Gemini 3 Pro High is high in creative and high energy. Whilst Claude Opus 4.6, it's lower in creativity, but very, very high in the logical thinking. I'm going to use Claude Sonnet 4.6 because as far as I know, Claude Sonnet 4.5 is not available. I can use Sonnet 4.6, I can press go, and now the agent should start actually building things step by step. So the first thing it tells us is, hey, I'm going to start reading Claude.md. So it's going to start reading this, and then it's going to start building folders. So the different kind of Google Drive folders, you can call it, where it's going to store all the different files accordingly. And to make this even more practical for you, you can think of this as a chef. And we tell the chef, hey, go to the groceries and then bring back the groceries. And the chef has meat, it has fruits, it has vegetables, it has, sweets, it has all these different categories of food. And so what we're saying is like each folder will be a basket. So we have one basket for fruits, one basket for meat, one basket for sweets, and one basket for the vegetables. To make sure that we separate different things accordingly and to make it more structured when he starts cooking the food. That's what it is. I hope that makes sense. So after a few minutes, it should start adding the folders here, and you can press accept all to make sure that you accept the plan of implementation that Antigravity is going to do. And just to show you how this led to this, we tell it, hey, all the SOPs written in Markdown have to live in a folder called Directives. So what it did here is it created a folder called Directives, and it made the how to add a directive, the template.id, the basically SOPs that it needs to follow. Don't worry too much about what's in here. Just understand that this is the main folder for that specific thing. Then we told it the execution, so the Python scripts, should be stored in execution. If I go here, you can start to see that we have the Python scripts. So the Python scripts is a thing that actually make the automation. When we say we want to run code, we're running Python, right? Python is the language that we use to be able to write code, to be able to build the automations. But of course, we're not doing it. Antigravity is. All right, so now that we're done with step 1, which is structure, we can go to step 2, which is building. Now that we have to start building the agentic workflow, I'm not going to build it here. I'm actually going to press an open agent manager, and it's going to take me to this page that looks like this. Now, this and this are both the same exact application. So both are Antigravity. The only difference is that this agent manager allows us to be able to run simultaneous agents, so run basically different assistants for the same project. So in this case, we have Antigravity right here, which is the main folder, right? The same one that we have here. And we're saying, okay, what if I want to have 2 different people doing 2 different things at the same time, working under the same project, right? Well, we have to go here because right here, we can only run 1 person. Whilst here, we can run 2 people. Now, the idea behind Agent Manager is that you have the same project and you have multiple assistants working under the same project all at the same time. So you save time. You don't have to spend hours and hours there. You can have different tasks done all at the same time using these agents. And there's only one problem here. And the problem is that although the idea of running different agents simultaneously at the same time is great, if one agent depends on the other, then it's not so great. Because if one agent depends on the other and the other is still running, then we're going to have problems actually testing and building the actual workflow. With this said, you want to make sure that each assistant or agent that you're running under the same project are working on different tasks that don't depend on each other. So then you can get the output of this assistant, the output of this assistant, and then put them all together. Now, for the example of today, I want to build an agentic workflow that can scrape my competitors and then find their emails. And so we're going to have 2 different agents running. The first agent is going to be receiving a link of a website. It will then do research on that website, scraping the product. Then it will tell me the main competitors for the website and different details like revenue, pricing, and other KPIs. And then I want to put everything into a Google Sheet. And then the second agent we're going to have running is going to be an agent that receives the specific niche. It then finds 20 people in that niche, including the company names, the contact emails, and the website, and then puts them all into a Google Sheet. Now, the idea behind this is that we have 2 different agents working on 2 different tasks, and then we put them all together to build a full agentic workflow that can scrape competitors. And finally, we end up with a list of leads into a Google Sheet with the emails and websites and so on. So first things first, I'm going to go here to plus, and I'm going to paste this prompt right here, which says I want an AI agent that receives a link as an input. Inside that link, there will be a product page. And I want this agent to perform an in-depth competitor analysis of that product. I want you to tell me who the main competitors are, what pricing they use, and what revenue they generate, and other KPIs you consider relevant. I want to brainstorm with you what additional outputs we can include after this competitor analysis. I also want ideas on what tech stack to use. Specifically, I know I want the output in a Google Sheet, but I'm not sure what software to use to perform the competitor analysis. As you can see, I'm not telling it go out and build something. I'm planning things before I start the build to make sure that it's more structured. The same way that you would have a project, you talk to your friend and say, okay, before we start the project, let's talk about the best way to go around building this out, right? I'm going to keep using Claude Sonnet 4.6. That's fine. Planning because I want it to plan. And I'm going to press go, send. And this right here is the first agent. Then I have the second agent right here where I'm going to paste this prompt right here, which says, I want to create an agent and a workflow where the input is a specific niche and it finds 20 leads in that niche, including the company name, contact emails, and website. But first, I want you to recommend the best approach for finding company names, websites, and contact emails for businesses in that niche. So first, let's brainstorm before building the workflow. And I can press go as well. And if I go up here to Inbox Manager, I can see that we have two different agents running. The first one's this one and the second one is this one. As you can see here, we can go to the first agent. And if I go up here, it's going to give me the breakdown of how it should think about building this out. Competitor name, website, pricing, and revenue. I think that's fine. Market positions, recommended additional KPIs, funding and investors. I don't think we need any of these. Yeah, I think unique differentiators is good. It's fine. I don't think I want any of these. Okay. Now it's going to tell me exactly what we could use. It says option A is using NA10 plus AI agent plus Google Sheets. Option B is Python scripts. And option C is Perplexity plus XAI plus Make.com plus Google Sheets. I don't think I like any of them. I would rather just use Perplexity, which I know is like Claude or ChatGPT, but it's very, very good for research. So what I'm going to say here is this. I'll say, okay, so I think I want to find the competitor name, the website, the pricing, and the revenue. That's okay. I also want you to find the unique differentiators. And then I don't really like any options. I'm more swayed towards option C, but can we just use Perplexity to do the research and that's it? And then you can use Google Sheets, then store the information. So make sure that the columns in Google Sheets are the ones of the variables that we want to find. So the core metrics. Yeah, just use Perplexity to be able to do research. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions or if you need anything from me. I'm going to press run. And we have this here. And I can go to the other one. And now it's going to go through the actual brainstorming of how it's thinking about doing it. So the core challenge, the lead generation requires 2 pieces of data: company name, website, and contact email. The difficulty is that these rarely come from a single source. So the best approach chains multiple methods together. The first one is using Google search plus web scraping. Best free approach. Okay, I like that. Apollo.io API. We could use this, but it is paid. So I want to show you a free version. Hunter.io is paid. It is very good as well. LinkedIn. I probably would not want to use LinkedIn. And we also have Google Maps. I like Google Maps or Serve.api. Basically, it's telling us, hey, to be able for us to scrape, so to actually extract the emails of people, we can basically go around all the different options. We have these different roads that we can go down. I think they're equally as good. Okay, so I do like all of them. One thing I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use Google Maps. I know there's a software called Apify, which allows us to be able to use scrapers, like some sort of thing that people built, to be able to go inside Google Maps and extract information about businesses. So I'm going to say here, I like number 5. Can we use scrape using Google Maps? Let me know the best way to go around that, and let me know what API keys you need or any passwords or any software that we have to use to be able to scrape Google Maps. Let me know. Okay, whilst this is running, I can go back to agent 1 and I can see here that it's asking me, great, the plan is clear. Let me confirm what we're building. Python script to be able to use Perplexity API and then Google Sheet. The columns in the Google Sheet will be competitor name, website, pricing, revenue, unique differentiators. Before I start building, can I have Perplexity API key? I can give you the Perplexity API key. That's fine. And then the Google Sheets. How do you want to authenticate? The best approach is using Google service accounts. Do you already have one set up, or should I walk you through creating one? Since it needs a Perplexity API key, I can go to Perplexity, perplexity.ai. And right here, you want to log in with Google. I can use this email right here. I can then go to my account. I can go to API, I believe. And then API billing. Let me check if I have money in here. I do have $10. So make sure you have money here because it's going to be using credits to be able to use Perplexity. And if I go to API keys, I can then accept terms and generate API key. I can name it Antigravity. I can create a key. I can then copy the key. I can then bring it back here and say Perplexity API key. Then I'm going to say for Google Sheets, I don't have it set up. Can you walk me through how to create one? I don't really know. And you should set the script live. Yeah, you decide what works better for you. I don't really know. You just do it. And I'm going to press go. Whilst this is creating this, I can go back to the other. And now it's telling me, hey, can I store the API key that you just gave me in our file called env? I can press allow this conversation. And usually a lot of the times, you're not really going to know exactly what it's going to ask you. I know because I've already done it. So that's why I can explain it. But essentially all the passwords and stuff, it's something that you want secure. So ideally you don't want it to be shared with everyone. So you want to make sure that it's all in one place. I can press X in case you're getting overwhelmed. But as this is generating, I can go back to the lead generation workflow. And now it's telling me what I should be using to scrape Google Maps. So it's telling me I can use Google Places API. I can use Playwright, Selenium. I don't know what that is. Outscraper. I'm going to say, what about using Apify? Can we just use Apify and use the Google Maps scraper? I can give you the API key for Apify and you just figure it out. Does that work? when I press go. And this right here is like a conversation, right? As you can see, I'm not building anything. I'm just telling it how I should think about doing things and so on. And now it's saying, yes, absolutely, Apify is actually an excellent choice. Great, perfect. All I need to give it is the API token. Okay, so I can go back here. I can go to apify.com. And by the way, if you don't know what Apify is, I made a full tutorial on how it works. Check it out here. But I'm gonna go to console. And if I go here, I can see that we have a list of scrapers. So these are basically things that Apify built or someone else built that allow us to be able to scrape, so extract information from different sites. So this is Facebook, this is Instagram, YouTube, Instagram, websites, tweets, and TikToks. But if I go to home, I can see that I have the Google Maps scraper, which is the one that everybody uses right here. And we have to give it the roofers, which is a niche, and the location and how many places we want to scrape, which is fine. And we only have to pay $4 for 1,000 results. So I'm going to go here to the settings, to the API integration, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back and say, here's my API key for Apify, and use the regular Google Maps scraper when I press go. So as this is doing this, I can go back to the other agent and I can see that this is still generating the actual thing. And now it's telling me exactly what I have to do to be able to give it, what do I have to give it? My password for Google Sheets, because it has to access my Google Sheets. So if at this point you're a bit confused because of the way it looks, basically we're just asking it, hey, we're building this agent, we're building this other agent. What do we need to make these things happen? Typically we need your password for Google Sheets. Typically we need your password for Perplexity or your password for Apify. And so we're giving it all these passwords so that it's able to actually build the thing that we want it to build. So in this case, we have to go through everything step by step. So for us to be able to use Google Sheets, we have to go to Google Cloud Console. There we go. Google Cloud Platform Console. Go to my console. And then you want to go up here and you want to press new project. I can't add a new project because I'm maxed out with all my projects. But once you have a project right here, you want to go to API and services, and you then want to go to enable API and services and look for something called Google Sheets. Google Sheets. Press on this and you can press enable. You know it's enabled when it says disable right here. And then you also want to go to, I think it's Google Drive, because Google Sheets is in Google Drive, so that's fine. Google Drive API, and you want to press enable. I already have this, so it says manage, but you would press enable, and you basically wait 1 minute or a few seconds actually for it to connect. Once that's done, you can go to API and services credentials, go up to create credentials, go to OAuth client ID, put this as desktop app, just fine. Name this whatever you want. In this case, Antigravity tutorial, create. And here you will see your client ID and client secret. You could also download the JSON here, which is just a file version of these passwords, and then upload it there. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. So client ID, client secret, spelling is a bit off. Let me put it this. And I'm going to press run. There we go. So now I give it my passwords. It's telling me that these are not the credentials that it asked me for, but it can still work. And going back to the inbox again, I can see that these two agents are still running simultaneously. Now, this is great for us because we can now run different agents at the same time and we can be much more efficient. There's only one thing here, and that is that when you are using a lot of brain power from Antigravity, it might stop, right? Because on a free plan, right here, I can show you that. So on the individual plan, $0 a month, it says generous rate limits. And the thing is, nobody knows what generous means. There's no tangible number. Even if it's developer plan, it says more generous. And then team plan, it says more generous. So it's telling us, hey, you have a generous amount of brain power that we can use, but we're not going to tell you how much brain power, right? So you're kind of there just guessing. But the way to minimize risk is for you to be using models like Claude Sonnet 4.6 to be able to ensure that you're not using all the brain power that Antigravity has. Because if you're using Claude Opus 4.6 or Gemini 3 Pro High, they do require a lot of brain thinking because they're very good models. So make sure you keep that in mind when you are kind of building this out. All right, so the first agent actually finished, and I actually told it to test with one competitor. I gave it getsnews.com. So this here is unpaid marketing, we call it, but it's basically where I show you a product. I believe it's a way for you to sleep better. Link down below. I'm just kidding. I was not paid to do this. I just searched up products online and I came up with this. So essentially, it should go in here, it should look at the product, it should then get competitors. And if I go all the way down here, it then gave me the Google Sheet, which I found right here. So we have the competitor name, the website, the pricing. There was no revenue in this case because they can't always find it. And then we have unique differentiators. And it did it all in a matter of seconds without needing me at all, right? It just used the workflow that we give it, used instructions, and used Perplexity in the way, and it gave us the full Google Sheet as well. And I also tested the second agent right here to be able to scrape the emails from the competitors. And I got this Google Sheet right here, which looks like this, where we have, let me just put the writing as white. company name, website, email, and description. Now, I didn't find the emails for all of them, but I did a pretty decent job as well at finding the websites and also the other competitors. All right, so now that we've built both agents right here, we can start to see that the folders are now consisted of more files because of the fact that when the agents are working, they're adding all the files here in the corresponding folders. So for executions, we have competitor analysis, and this right here is basically the Python script that allows us to be able to use Perplexity and get the competitor name, website, pricing, revenue, unique differentiation. I personally don't recode, but I can start to see that it adds comments for me to understand step by step what it is doing. And I can also go to directives and I can see the competitor analysis MD, which is a page that tells us exactly, hey, here's exactly how you have to do competitor analysis. So that when we do run the whole thing all together, it has context. It starts reading to all the documents right here as instructions to then give us the output. So now to put it all together, we can say, all right, so now I want you to do the analysis of a competitor for this product. And I'm going to give it the exact same product as before. And I'm going to say, give me 3 to 4 competitors. And then I want you to research just 10 leads in that specific sector of sleeping products. There you go. Now we're going to use the functionalities of both agents that we built together to make the full agentic workflow. So I can press run. And as you can see here, it already realized that the task has 2 parts. First part is identifying 3 to 4 competitors, and second part is researching 10 leads in the sleeping products sector. So the good thing about this is that because it has context, it will start doing one first and then the other, and then we get the output at the end. All right, so I just finished the actual workflow. I scraped the competitors of snooze. I think that's how you say it. Snoz, we'll see. And then it made a Google Sheet here that I can press here. And then we get to this page right here, very similar to the one that we had before. We have the company names here, and then we have the websites, we have the emails, all the ones that we found, and we have the description as well. Now, for the ones where we didn't find the emails, we can now use an external server as well, an external software, to be able to use it. Because we're just using Google Maps, it's not going to be super accurate. So it really depends on what software you're tapping your workflow into. But it's a lot that can be done here. I'm just showing you the easiest way just to get up and running with this. So congrats on making it to the end of the video. You've now learned exactly what an agentic workflow actually is, why it's important, how you can use it, but most importantly, how you can build one step by step. And if you're someone who's asking themselves, well, I already built this, how do I actually make money with this? Well, I left the first thing down below, which is a link to a one-to-one mentorship program where you get to work with me one-to-one to be able to turn all these skills and monetize them to actually build a full AI agency. If you want more info, you can check out the first thing down below. And if you're interested in diving deeper into agentic workflows and how they work, then check out this video up here where I show you exactly 8 insane cloud code use cases where we're building agentic workflow for businesses. With that being said, I hope you found value from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.